Hi, this is Janine Todd. I'm doing my mystery show tonight. My son will be in and out. Kind of just following the synchronicities that I talked about last Saturday and some paranormal or weird things that happened to me in the city of Oxford at Miami University where I work. So we can start off tonight. What we left off last week, kind of with a lot of the synchronicities and dates and stuff that revolved around my husband's death. And that now there was a weird thing happened this week, actually, that, my son's always trying to get into music, Roger. so,
Yeah.
so Toby Keith passed away. Of course, everybody knows that, I think. And I was listening to an interview about Toby Keith and how he started out and how he got a record label, and how he said that when he was 30 he was just going to hang it up. He'd done everything he was going to do, and kind of, I guess he's pretty religious, so he told God, I'm going to hang this up. If I'm supposed to do it, give me a sign or something. So he was saying my parents' wedding anniversary is how it kind of started. And so I'm listening to this, and he's like, they were married June 21st, and the first day of summer. And I was like, I've got to be kidding me. So that was really odd, because that's when my birthday is and when I got married.
Yeah.
So it was very strange. And he said it all came from this date, because he said I met with some people for their anniversary or something, and he said then it went on to where he sent it to that person that signed him and Shania Twain and somebody else. And I was just like, that is so bizarre. How sometimes these dates come up that it's just kind of unlikely, but I'm sure it happens to other people too. But yeah, that was kind of eerie. I mean, and Toby Keith's not like one of Austin's favorites, but he is a good musician, and he likes how he writes and, things like that. So I don't know if it was some kind of sign or what it was, but it was, when I heard it, it was kind of freaky. So
No, we were talking about July the 21st last year, weren't we?
June.
Yeah.
June. My anniversary. Remember, I said it was my birthday, and I got married on my birthday. And then I said, when I went to the hospital with my husband's cancer, is when they that day they told him and I that it was terminal and they couldn't do anything. So that was kind of the weirdness. I'm like, what's the likelihood that this guy, I was listening to this interview and I heard that, and I was like, that's so strange. His parents' wedding anniversary is the same day as our wedding anniversary was. So that was weird.
Especially right after you being on here and talking about it too, like that.
Well, yeah. And you know what else is similar? But I don't know if it's really, well, kind of. My husband had stomach cancer, and so did Toby Keith. Because he was saying a lot of times, even if they catch it early, it doesn't have a great survival rate. And usually you don't catch it early. They had caught his early, and he only lived a couple of years. So, yeah, that was a little bit weird, too.
Now, Toby Keith is the one that was diagnosed with cancer, and then he went on to singing, I think it was, wasn't it? And
yeah. He was around. He made his break in '93, I think. So he's been around forever. I mean, about 20 years. He said he's actually never stopped touring until he got cancer, and then the last couple of years he had to.
Yeah.
So he's been in the business a while. Yeah.
I remember him from when he got diagnosed with cancer and everything. And I wanted to double check, make sure that was who you were talking about.
Yeah, it's that, I Should Have Been a Cowboy. That was his first song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then, I kind of listened to, the old country. I didn't listen to a lot of his newer stuff because I'm not into country as much now. But that was back in the 90s, when country was pretty good. So I felt like, I mean, to each his own. There's a lot of people like it now, so that's great too. But I liked it back then. So yeah.
I don't know. Even back in the 90s, there were people who thought that it was losing its flavor back then too, because like if you want to go farther back, you know what I mean, like the old country music, it's
Yeah.
even different from the 90s. Like
Yeah,
it's,
it was when it kind of, I feel like it got pretty crossover and popish, especially like a lot of Garth Brooks stuff. And
yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah.
See,
And I think Toby Keith's was too. Alan Jackson, I feel like he kind of stayed with the old stuff, maybe George Strait.
yeah.
Uh,
Now,
but
Garth Brooks is a problem. He's a issue that we have to take care of here because everybody does the whole Garth Brooks shirt thing. Like, I mean, come on, dude. Seriously, you got to wear Garth Brooks shirts to go out line dancing. Do you
yeah, and
really?
I heard that I didn't know about that. But I have heard. I heard, when he opened his bar. Now I don't know if this is 100% true, but I heard that he played like, a couple songs for the grand opening, and that you actually cannot get that on YouTube. That you have to buy it, just like all of his music on Apple and stuff. You can't buy it. It's somebody else that does it. He gets a kickback or something.
Yeah,
So you buy it. I'm like, that's crazy. That's just to your bar. You just opened this bar. I
yeah,
don't know about him, but
yeah.
like, wow. I used to really like him. And I always thought, because he was a good marketer, he marketed himself well. And actually, he took marketing in college, I believe. But it's like he lost that. He forgot who his audience was. He brought politics into it. You never want to do that. And he forgot how many people, what their political views were in country, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, Garth. So, right.
Well, it
Yeah.
didn't dawn on me until freaking after last week's show, but I realized I got to be careful talking music with you because I didn't realize you're a Doobie Brother fan. So, and I should have known because you are from Ohio. So,
Doobie Brothers, not really.
yeah,
No, I actually liked Michael McDonald off by himself when he went on. He went on to do stuff by himself more, didn't he?
yeah, he did, but he was basically the Doobie Brothers. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
any way you look at it.
I mean, I don't. It doesn't upset me if anybody says anything about it because I wasn't a big Doobie Brother fan. Again, that was back when they just banged their, every time you turn on the radio, it was the Doobie Brothers and who else? The Hotel California.
Oh,
Those guys.
yeah, Hotel California. That was, oh my goodness. Now I'm,
John Henley and
yeah, I should be
and
ashamed of myself. I should know this.
yeah, I like that stuff, but I feel like I've always been a person that kind of goes off like not so mainstream. I liked more Gordon Lightfoot or America, but I also think those people were talented too in their own right. I think they just, how they are. They would just play the same songs over and over sometimes.
Well, that was the
Like
radio,
Hotel
though. That was the radio. I mean, they were monotonous about it, and it always went according to how much they got paid by the people pushing the music. So
Right.
if they got paid more money to play the Doobie Brothers, then you're going to hear the Doobie Brothers constantly over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm real open-minded about music, because I like all different kinds. And that's kind of an individual thing. Like Austin and he gets so mad at me. I don't care for the Beatles. And we got, him and I agree on a lot of stuff, but he's like, I can't believe you don't like the Beatles. And I was like, not that I don't like them. I just feel like they were, recognized a lot more than they should have been for some stuff. Not everything. And I know they're good musicians. So, but it just depends on who you are. And, everybody has different memories with different songs and things too. So, but I just think music in general brings people together. So I always like it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the
Beatles, they brought the long hair. It's just like Elvis Presley brought the hips being twisted, and like back then, all these girls got all I don't even know what the name for it is. They got all freaking feverish.
Yeah.
They got
Well,
feverish.
Yeah.
It's like you see those
Right.
old TV shows where the girls are screaming, you know what I mean, because they see a musician, and I'm like, I've never seen a girl scream like that in my entire life, you know.
It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. It's like it was what do they call it? The craze or something or other. Elvis and how he got kicked off at Ed Sullivan and all that.
Yeah.
Um. So
Well,
that was. But
Ed Sullivan, to be honest, sucked. I mean, I've tried to watch old Ed Sullivan episodes, and there is nothing good about his show. You know what I mean?
no.
I've seen a lot of better freaking shows back during his time than his, and I mean, I don't understand why people made him out to like be an American icon and everything, because he wasn't.
Well, I think it's because he did have a lot of musicians that were starting out, and it helped them.
You know?
And maybe
I'm working on getting it. I'll be right back.
And so, but I know there was like, you think about like Dick Clark and the countdowns and stuff like that. Those guys were pretty cool, but yeah.
They didn't get even half as much recognition, though, you know, as.
I know, and he was just kind of a creepy guy. And then he was always mad, like he was mad at the Doors when they got on there, said they were too, promiscuous and all that.
They were hippies.
Yeah, they were. So yeah, we're going. I don't know, synchronicities. We talked a lot about that. I don't know. It's been so hectic today here that I hadn't really thought about some of the other things that have happened in my life.
I noticed one thing I did want to bring up to you though. Darker Things was talking to you in comments or chats and everything, and he mentioned to you about freaking a wing of the university that was closed off because it was haunted.
Oh, yeah. But actually, he had the wrong university, and this is weird. It was Ohio University. Has a hall, and I think it's got one of the names of the same halls up in Miami University, and it's one of the only dorm rooms. This is not Miami University. It's Ohio University. I don't know where that's at. Is that around Akron? I don't know. Ohio University, I think, is one of the oldest universities in the state.
Mm-hmm.
But they closed this room off because it was haunted. I think somebody was murdered there. But yeah, I told him, I was like, that's not Miami University, but a lot of people seem to think it is because, for some reason, I think at one time Miami University was going to be named Ohio University or something. Ohio University's different, but it's still in Ohio, and it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Wilson Hall because we had a Wilson Hall too, but I think they tore it down. Yeah.
I've wanted to mention that because I noticed it and everything, and it's good that you bring it up on stream anyhow, because at least people know on your stream it's not the same situation.
Well, it's so weird. A lot of these universities have the same names for some of their halls and stuff. I don't know why. Maybe because those people were rich and gave. Maybe they are some of the same people. I don't know. Yeah, there's like a Wilson and a Reed Hall, but they're like different from Miami. They're at I know one's at Ohio University, Wilson Hall, and a Reed Hall is at another university, but it's not Oxford. But yeah, but Miami, yeah. When you get back to Miami and you talk about all the weird things that have happened there, it's really strange. We had touched upon that, like the town itself and the fires, there was 3 students were killed in a fire, and I think another one was hurt.
Yeah. Now with me, I wanted to get more into talking about the fact that one part was actually a mental ward at one time. It was
Old Fisher Hall.
Fisher Hall.
And Wilson was part of that, actually, but they just tore that down 2 years ago. Wilson Hall.
Uh-huh.
I think the thing about it was like a limestone building with these red, some kind of red brick roof they said was fireproof, but they said it was too old, and it was part of Fisher Hall. It was a separate building, but it was over on Western Campus. And Fisher Hall was a mental institution, and I guess I don't know what they did there was the same thing. I think, yeah. But it was mostly for women.
Yeah.
And I think before it was part of the Miami University.
I think I also found out that the guy that they named what was it, Fisher Hall, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think they even made allegations that he got kicked out of there because he was having a relationship with one of the female students.
Yeah, wasn't his name Elam or something? Elam Fisher or something. I don't know my history real well up there, but yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, that's what it was. Fisher Hall was added to the National Register of Historical Places in 1789 or 1978, but it was delisted the same year.
Yeah, because I guess they were going to fix it, but they had let it sit on campus and they let people go in there, and it was just torn up. They let it go too far, and I think they thought, oh no, this is really not going to be safe and it's not going to work. And that is one case, I believe, where they should have tore the buildings down. Recently, Wilson Hall, that really upset me because that was part of the old Fisher Hall, and it was a beautiful building, but they said, no, we need to tear it down. It'll take too much money to redo it. But it didn't seem like it was in that bad a shape. Mm-hmm. But Miami's been real gung-ho in the last probably 10 years, just tearing down old buildings. So,
and Wilson Hall might be because of a guy by the name of James K. Wilson, and he was the designer of Fisher Hall. And he was also a chapter member of the American Institute of Architects.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did pull that up.
That's what got me too. They said that building was absolutely fireproof, even though it was very old. Mm-hmm. Just because of that blue limestone and the red slate stuff on the roof. So I'm like, what? And I don't know. And they've been doing a lot of building up there, and the new buildings are very cheaply made, and mm-hmm. And now they're in debt really bad because COVID happened, and they started depending on international students a lot, and then they lost it, with COVID. Yep. And they haven't recouped it, so they're millions of dollars in debt. They're really having a hard time, but a lot of universities are.
Yeah, now Fisher Hall was named after, like you said, Elam. It was Judge Elam Fisher, and he was a trustee and alumnus of the university. And it said while occupied by the Oxford Female College, Elam Fisher may have been kicked out while courting a young lady. So he was a ladies' man.
That was after it was an insane asylum, I guess. And then, there's a little building there now that's still, unless they tear it down, it's called Cook Field, part of Fisher Hall and Wilson. It was like, I think, where the doctor worked and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've been in that building because my sister worked there. I used to go over there quite a bit. And it's really cool. It's an old little building. And there's a fireplace there. And people say there was a tunnel that you could walk, like if you went in the fireplace, you could mm-hmm. go to a tunnel and get to Fisher Hall. But it was kind of, at that point, I think, and most of it had collapsed back in the 79 or 80s. Yeah. So that's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, up here in Middletown, we have something, and if you look it up, it'll pop right up. Is the Sword Mansion. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of the Sword Mansion at all.
They talk about a tunnel from the Sword Mansion over to a hotel. There was a man, his name, I forget his first name, but it was Mr. Sword, that was wealthy, and he built this mansion, and then his wife and him liked to go to the theater, so they had a theater. I think he built the theater too. And so they wouldn't get wet and stuff. They had a tunnel, an underground tunnel that went from Sorg over the theater. The theater now is in real bad shape, but the Sorg mansion, somebody took it over and they've been fixing it up like a bed and breakfast. I don't know if they're done with it because they've been doing it for about 5 years, it seems like. But it's a real cool place over on Main Street here.
That's pretty cool.
Everybody says it's haunted. And, you know, it kind of went in disrepair for a while. It was an apartment house for lower income people. But then these people, like I said, they came in, they must have a lot of money, and they've taken it over, and they're redoing the whole thing. But it's still got a lot of the original beautiful stuff in there. Like tile fireplaces and wood floors and these beautiful staircases. So, yeah, actually, I think Middletown does some kind of haunted tours through there or something.
No, what gets me about Fisher Hall, though, is you got to remember, too, Fisher Hall is where Tammin was roomed up in, you know what I mean? And now you got freaking underground tunnels, you got a crazy scientist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking, then that one woman that you freaking referred me to, I went and read up on hers, and like she's saying like he was freaking a part of a CIA op program freaking with MKUltra and shit, you know what I mean?
I think you're talking about Mrs. Peabody, or that was somebody else, wasn't it?
It was one of the links you had me look into.
Oh.
Which she did have good information and everything, you know. She's the one that told me about Jennifer Winger. She's been doing research on all that.
Oh, okay.
And like, I don't know if you remember me telling you or not, but she took a tour of Fisher Hall, and the tour guy, her student guide who took her on the tour was convinced that the building was full of ghosts, and she also thought that they had something to do with frickin' Tammin disappeared, like he was spirited away by him and stuff, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I thought I saw something about that. Something about him being in a band in the Campus Owls, and they heard some kind of music that scared him, or I forget this now, but yeah, there's a lot of history there on that western campus. It's crazy. But yeah, Oxford in itself, it's a very secretive town. Like, you know, the fire I told you about with the students, that's not really a secret because it's out there. But there was the fire chief that was killed from Hamilton when they had a fire uptown. A wall collapsed, and it's really hard to find anything about that. Now, even though it's back in the 70s, you know, usually they'll have something on internet. I found it, like I said, on Facebook. And it popped up because some guy was a fire chief, or he was a fireman, and he had it on his page for some reason. So I got some information, but that's all I could find on it.
Well, I'll tell you right now, since John's been hanging out and doing the stuff he's been doing with Michael Paul, I ain't got no problem with bringing it up now about the other stuff I said before.
Yeah.
But like, freaking this woman freaking actually said that she found out that Tammin's mom freaking sent off fingerprints for Tammin to the FBI from when he was in elementary school. So years later, this woman, freaking Jennifer Wenger, asked through further investigation, she went ahead and discovered the fingerprints, and then she asked the FBI if she could have a copy of it, and she couldn't find it. There was no evidence that the FBI even had these fingerprints and stuff.
See, that's what I tell you about that town. And then, you know, the woman that was killed in Candlewood, the apartments that my husband and I used to live in, how almost all that, they wanted to reopen that case, and I think they did, but a lot of the stuff's gone. And they're like, well, where did it go? Oh, no, it just got lost. A lot of the evidence. So, you know, it's never going to be solved probably because they threw a bunch of stuff away. Who does that?
Yeah.
So what is going on up there? You know, I'm like, what is that? It's so weird.
It does seem funny though, because like I told you about with the two women, Amber and Amanda. Um, uh, they did a investigation later on about that freaking unsolved murder
Yeah.
in freaking in 1978, and that they ended up freaking getting the static from the local police office. You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
Isn't that strange? I think they protect Miami University somehow because they just don't want stuff out there,
Hmm.
you know? Um, and even that fire, like those kids were right next to the hospital, and that was an old rental property, and there was a lot of issues. And then so they tore that house down about as soon as they could, and then they built a bunch of apartment houses, newer ones, They used that as an excuse to do it. Um, but
Do you think that maybe they also did some crazy MKUltra experimentations and stuff there with the students?
I I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm open to that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a strange town.
Hmm.
Yeah. I could see that.
Well,
Yeah.
you do know, like after they finally caught the Unabomber, they found out that frickin' when he was in college, he actually went in and participated in some of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what is that actually? What do they do actually? I mean, I kind of know a little bit about it, but not a lot.
Well,
Like,
what I was taught that a lot of those consisted of was like they give you like frickin' first they'll do paperwork and they'll give you questionnaires and they want to see what your response is. So you go in and you answer these questionnaires, and then usually they would have volunteers from college do it. You know what I mean? They'll go in, fill out these sheets, and then they would try to do some kind of freaking mind experiment that would alter your way of thinking so that later on they can give you the same test or alter the test in some little way and have you
uh,
do it again.
okay.
But
So, my,
originally though, freaking it was the freaking military that had, without the soldiers knowing it, slipped them LSD in order to try to see what the effects would have on them. And one of them ended up jumping out of a freaking building window because of it.
wow.
Yeah.
Now, I knew they were doing that. What was that where you could, you leave your body and,
Oh,
the,
that's
what do you call
it's
um,
I hear it all the time. Robot talks about it too. I should already have this memorized. Um,
yeah, Austin would know right away, but and they were doing that for a little bit, and they actually said it
mhm.
worked.
Yeah.
Where a spy, like you could spy on somebody in another country because you can leave your body and do it. I'm not sure how it's done, but I do think it's possible. Then they said they say they don't do it anymore, but I wonder
Yeah.
if they don't still, because if it was working in any way, I don't know why they would have stopped doing it. You know,
If
so
they're still doing it, they don't want the public to know, so it wouldn't be like in an organization that's like public. You know what I mean? So.
right. There's so many things they don't want us to know. It seems like. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah.
But
Um,
but that's the thing with me, that like with those two girls when they were doing their podcast, and these were like journalists that came together and was doing the investigation into it, and freaking they eventually got to the point where they said that the story was so big that it would be better just to do a podcast on it than to just make an article.
wow.
You know,
What would be scary is if they were getting threatened, you
the
know, like that.
the thing that gets me about it though with their story is like, and you've said it too when we've been talking, is like they said that, and well, I brought it up because I mentioned it a couple times. I've seen it on here, but the police always says, oh well, we're not used to this kind of thing happening here, you know. So the community's kind of shook up about it. So we really don't like discussing it too much, and that's always what they say. Like, I think I've seen 3 people so far from everything I've said bring that up and say, "Oh, it just never happens like that. This is a small community."
Well, and the same thing with the murders I was talking about with that Rhett Depew. That's probably one of the biggest. I mean, not the biggest, because there was a big one in Hamilton, like with 8 people. But it's pretty large when you kill a mother and two children. Yeah, I think it might be 3 people, and set the house on fire in a small community. And they were like, "Oh, this never happens. We don't know what we're going to do," and blah, blah, blah. They always do that. And even that fire where the chief was killed, they were like, "Oh, you know, this never happens in Oxford. It's terrible. We lost one of our firemen today. He was saving the other fireman's life. He was trying to warn them, and the wall fell on him." But they act like, but then as soon as it's over, you never hear any more about it. And you know, like you have all these shows on like 48 hours and stuff like that, crime shows, but you hardly see anything from Oxford. And like, they have love triangles and love things like all the time. And Becca that was killed up there, because I was working there, 2015, I think, or maybe it was 2008. I can't remember now. But I mean, her boyfriend came and killed her in the level 21 apartments, but you don't see it anywhere.
Well, see, that could be a part of the new age MKUltra type of thinking, because like here in this whole new age version of the MKUltra program, people believe that like celebrities are being brainwashed so that freaking they're like freaking mindless drones that do whatever freaking men want them to do and shit. You know what I mean?
Well, what was the star you were telling me about? She couldn't she's told people something happened and they said, no, that didn't happen.
Right.
Paula Abdul.
Yeah, tell him about that. That is weird that you're talking about that, Roger. So.
Do you remember back when Paula Abdul said she was in a plane crash?
I thought it was a bus crash.
No, plane crash.
Okay.
She said she was on a plane flying somewhere for a concert or a press conference or something, and the plane came down on a cornfield, and she said she got injured really badly. But people were telling her it never happened, and then there was no record of it actually ever even having happened.
Yeah.
But she's...
Do you remember ever hearing about that?
No, I've never heard it.
I thought she got in a bus crash.
Yeah, you can actually look that up. There was, like, it was around 92 or something. She said she was hurt real bad in a plane crash because the plane came down a field, but it wasn't bad enough to kill her, but it hurt her real bad. And then she said that's why she got hooked on pain pills.
Yeah. And it seems odd to me too that frickin' she passed away just here recently. You know what I mean? Like this girl was fit, because after she left music, she actually started training with Chuck Norris whenever frickin' she was on the show with him. I don't know if you...
Is that the same one? Who was it?
Wasn't that Paula Abdul? She played on frickin' Texas Walker.
Oh, that was... who was that?
Nah, it wasn't Paula Abdul.
That was somebody different, I think.
I'm trying to think who that was. I might need to look that up.
But,
oh, that wasn't the woman that played on Dallas, was it? I think she played on Dallas.
Oh,
too.
God.
Well, no, really. I mean, she played on Dallas as one of JR's... Because everybody played on Dallas. A lot of people got their start, on that show.
Everybody played as JR's girlfriend.
Her name was April.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife's name.
Yeah, I know. But I just, there's something going on, like at Miami, though, and I'll say stuff to people, and they'll be like, well, I never knew about that.
Mia Peoples.
Huh?
Mia Peoples.
Peoples?
Yeah, Mia Peoples was the one that played on Texas,
Oh,
right?
yeah, people.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't even
who
have a
she
chance
was,
to look it up, but okay.
No, I don't think Paula Abdul did. She was part of that Miami Sound Machine.
Yeah.
No, that's
Wasn't
Gloria
it?
Estefan.
Oh, she's the...
Oh, yeah.
Gloria
Yeah,
Estefan
she
was
was
the
in the
one that
bus.
had, but she actually did have a bus crash.
Yeah.
That's on record.
But-
The EMTs. Now, Paula Abdul's plane crash was weird because there's no record of this plane crash ever having happened.
Well, and
Yeah.
they act like she was drug addled because she did get addicted to drugs. But I'm like, come on. There's other people that said it happened too.
Well, and yeah, there was EMTs and stuff and firefighters who claimed to have been there and got her and some of the other survivors out of the wreckage, because the pilot was apparently really experienced. He managed to crash land the plane in such a way to where everybody survived, but some people got hurt real bad.
Yeah.
Or something. And it supposedly came down a cornfield, and I think they even interviewed the farmer who owned that land, and he said that it did come down his field, but there's no record of it having happened. Mm-hmm. It was never reported. You know what it almost reminds me of is have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know how they say how
you know what else it reminds me of too? Not only like the Mandela effect, but do you guys remember hearing about frickin' Shaquille O'Neal's supposed movie that he played in as a genie?
Oh, you mean Sinbad, right?
Well, he was. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be Sinbad, but he played as the genie.
Yeah, there was supposedly a Sinbad movie in the late '80s, very early '90s where Sinbad played a genie. There was one in the mid '90s where Shaquille O'Neal played a genie.
Well, he did play that.
Now
didn't
Shaquille O'Neal did.
Yeah.
But a lot of people seem to remember a Sinbad movie too, where Sinbad played a genie. But the thing is when you go online to look for the movie, and everybody knows the title of it. I think it was called Shazam or Kazam.
Okay.
Kazam. Yeah. People go and look for it, and no one can find it.
It's not there.
And there was a guy. Yeah,
That's weird.
I got on a forum about this movie because I remember hearing about it when I was a really little kid back then.
Well, didn't he do a commercial or something
Sinbad?
about it? Or no?
Shaquille O'Neal did I remember Shaquille O'Neal's movie, but there was supposedly one with Sinbad too.
Oh.
The Sinbad one was the one that was in question because, and I went on a forum about it. Now, there was a guy on the forum who said he used to work at a Blockbuster back then. Now, he said he remembered people renting this tape out, bring it back, him rewinding it if they didn't rewind it, and get mad if they didn't, and and he remembered this tape. But now he's been all over the internet looking for old VHS tapes of it, and he can't find it anywhere. And I went online looking for information about this old movie with the Sinbad the genie, because I remember it being out. My wife and me had a conversation about it. She said she went and saw it at the theater.
Wow,
back in like 1989 or 90. She said she remembers having seen it.
Yeah.
But you go online and look for it, and you cannot find anything about it except for forums about how everybody remembers it.
That's strange.
Nobody can find a tape. There was one kid, he remembered having a tape of it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the tape anymore. He kept all of his tapes and stuff, but that's the one that's missing. And you go online, you look for the movie, you can't find it. And then Sinbad even said he starred in a movie where he was a genie back in the very early 90s, late 80s. But you think the movie would be somewhere online. It's not.
That's
you cannot
weird.
find you can't find a tape. You can't find a DVD.
Wow.
You can't find and you'll find like images of what the cover of the tape was supposed to have been.
Right.
But that's all you can find.
This person here, how is her name pronounced?
I can read it out to you if you want me to.
Yeah, is she talking about what we were talking about? Roger and I were talking about astral protection.
Yeah, let me read it for you. That way you guys don't have to stress yourself.
Well, I can see it.
I know. Hold up.
Okay.
Just let me do it. I'm the guy on the side that takes care of the business for you, so you can do your show. So just you relax and okay.
Hey, Roger, interview.
I'll do the reading for you, okay? You just relax there, Missy.
I was just trying to figure out how to pronounce her name.
I know. It took me about 10 seconds to figure it out myself. Ixlia Moretz.
Moretz. Okay.
Now, what she says is, but that was a bit too dark for me. The little ghost child got me checking myself out, and now I'm trying to avoid anything dark. And then she goes on to say it's called astral projection.
Yeah, me and Roger couldn't remember what they did in the war, in the service, for some of the prisoners.
It's something viewing.
Oh, remote.
Remote. There we go. Yeah.
Little dip. Astral projection, I think, is where your spiritual body leaves your physical and goes everywhere.
But we were kind of talking about that too, weren't we, Roger? That's what she. Because you weren't here. Yeah.
Remote viewing is where your mental body goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a difference, because you know how you have a mental body, a lower mental body, and then a higher spiritual body. So I mean, they're basically the same thing. It's a projection of consciousness to a location where you're not physically present, but that's really basically the difference. Is in astral projection, your astral body, or that your spiritual body leaves.
But Roger and I were talking about how if the government was using it and it did work, and they said they stopped using it.
They didn't stop using it.
Stopped using it?
Absolutely. They told us what we wanted to hear, like they always do.
See, and I was being nice about it. Austin's just saying it. He's just saying it like it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
We all know that the Operation Stargate was worked. We all know. We all know that, and they know it. They know that we know it, and they just told us they stopped doing that. I don't believe them for a second.
Right. But an astral projection, though, haven't you said you've done that also? I've never.
Yeah, I have.
But you can, obviously, I guess you can go to different places. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Summer, have you ever watched those new TV series, Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you ever watched a TV series that used to be out called Fringe?
No.
Now, these two shows kind of dab into what Austin's talking about, okay? Like, you have tanks that they had where they could put you in water and they could freaking suppress you inside of it and close the top. And it would cause stress on your body to the point where you would literally start having visions, and then eventually you could leave your body and go to another place.
Well, that's almost like when a person's abused and they, like Sybil or something, where they have the multiple personalities because they can't handle all the abuse that's happening to them. Like that's like that almost, isn't it?
It's that's a part of the MKUltra stuff. If you believe in all that, they mixed MKUltra in with all these other projects, and eventually that's what they came. They were actually trying to do this in colleges and universities as experiments.
That's what
we were talking about.
The whole 1960s counterculture where LSD hit all those college campuses, and all those college students started getting tripped out, and some of the professors, even like Timothy Leary was a big one.
Well, that's
all started
funny.
Getting hit by acid. That came from MKUltra.
Well, see, Roger had just mentioned that, like it was somebody jumping out a window. Remember, Roger? You just mentioned. And then we talked about how they were doing mind control, that kind of mind control on students.
They were using the MKUltra. They were just experimenting with LSD as a mind control serum. The CIA was trying to figure out how to use it to control the population, and what they wound up with, the counterculture movement. The hippies of the 60s on the college campuses and stuff. And then that was around the same time that they also had Operation Stargate going on, which was the remote viewing thing. There may have been some kind of astral projection thing they were doing, but I don't know. I've never heard anything about a particular project involving them using projection.
I've never heard of it.
In fact, there's probably has been one. It would not surprise me.
So how do you think it ties into Ron Taman? Are you thinking that we're using him?
Here, that woman that you had me check out the link for, that when it comes to Taman, she, if you read through all of her stuff, she ends up like going on a series of blog posts and everything, and eventually she starts talking about how he was a part of the freaking CIA, and
A lot of
he
people
staged his disappearance.
I think that because he got his blood type, and that that guy at the morgue said that the coroner said he's never had anybody do that.
It sounds like they were staging his disappearance.
Yeah.
Now, like on an interesting side note, speaking of that, my uncle Butch, your brother, when he was in the Navy during Vietnam, he got an offer for the CIA. Me and my cousin were talking about this years ago. He got, and the CIA doesn't just give offers to just anybody. Well, if he had accepted his offer to join the CIA, Grandma and Grandpa would have probably gotten a letter saying he went missing in action or something like that. And because
crazy.
You think about a lot of the men who went missing in action and all the wars we fought and stuff. Some of them were probably just recruited by the CIA, and they staged their disappearances,
right? And
then wrote their families and said, "Yeah, so and so, we regret to inform you your son is missing."
Well, I wonder what it was about Ron Taman that they would have picked.
Well, let me throw a couple names at you, Summer, and see if they ring out to you since you work there at Oxford. Okay. Does the name St. Clair Schweitzer mean anything to you?
No, I think I've heard that one.
Okay, how about Dorothy Craig?
That sounds familiar, but I don't know exactly.
Dorothy Craig might. Who are they? Are they like something out with Fisher Hall?
It's involved with Taman. It's involved with Fisher Hall.
Okay.
And all of it. Just some of the stuff that I pulled together. What about Reuben B. Robertson Jr.?
That sounds familiar, but again, I can't place it.
I know Fisher Hall was like that mental institution, and there was Dr. Cook, all before Miami actually purchased it, I believe.
Yeah, they actually ended up giving it to the university right after the institution was shut down.
Yeah.
And there was claims that he was actually could have been a part of the research into MKUltra and stuff like that. And there's actually scientific papers that are out showing that he was into psychology and stuff. And
you need to look a little bit of that up. Look into that a little bit.
I just figure, like I looked at, the students that were just murdered, the 4 students in Idaho?
Yeah, I think a couple years ago now.
Yeah, it's Moscow, wasn't it? Moscow,
Idaho.
The parents were really upset because they already tore the home down that they were murdered, the rental place, because they just didn't want any bad memories. Said it was traumatizing the kids on campus. So I do think a lot of universities cover up stuff.
Yeah.
So I've always felt that at Miami. They always do. But there's some stuff that just totally disappears, or they act like you always say, Roger, the police, we just don't know how to handle much up here.
Yeah, the small police department just can't deal with this.
And hardly any of the new students that came in knew that Becca had been killed by her boyfriend at level 21. So some of them were probably living in that apartment.
That was like how they wanted to tear that elementary school in Texas down where that shooting happened, Uvalde.
Yeah.
Remember, not just long after that happened, the federal government was, we got to tear that building down. Okay, why?
Yeah.
So why do you want to tear that building down so bad? What do you...
Right.
It's the scene of an investigation where a mass shooting just happened. Why do you want to tear that building down so bad?
And you know what's scary to me? I was watching the Moscow, Idaho thing, or Iowa thing, and one of the girls' dads said, he said, I'm scared because he said, I'm not sure the man they have is the person that did it. Or if he did do it, how did he do it alone? He killed 4 people in like 10 minutes, it seems like. And he said, they don't have a lot of evidence. And he said, I know that they're in a hurry to say that the case is solved. And he said, if it's him, I want him to be guilty. But he said, I don't trust anybody now. He said they tore the apartment down, they tore the house down. And he said, I don't think when I watched it, I don't think they have enough evidence on that guy, and he might skate. All they have is like some kind of, I think there was one little drop of blood or something, and that's all they have. And there was people in and out of that house a lot, and they don't really have much else. So I'm like, it is pretty flimsy.
No,
so
I've got 2 more names to run by you, and I'm pretty sure you might know this one. Okay, who is Mary Moore Dabney Thompson?
Oh, is that somebody from Western Campus, right?
It's from the university.
It sounds like it might have been Ox College, but I don't know.
All right. How about Elizabeth Andes? Andes.
Those both sound familiar, but...
Okay. Now I'm going to leave it at that. Now, I found that information that I was wanting to tell you about with the hospital. Now, the Oxford Retreat Hospital is what it was called, and it was built in 1924.
Yeah.
And it was for the mentally ill.
Yeah, and it was mostly it was women, so their husbands, I think, could just sign them in back then.
Before being leased to Miami University in 1936.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Fisher Hall and Wilson Hall were both a part of the Oxford Retreat Hospital.
Right.
Wilson was formerly called the Pines, and that had the Cumler Chapel, I guess.
Oh, Cumler Chapel, which is right over there by Peabody on Western. Yeah, I know that's at. Yeah.
Now, they said that there was a legend connected to that, and it was dubbed the Organist and the Maniac.
Oh. Yeah, it was weird when I looked up Cumler Chapel. I couldn't find much on it.
It's mentioned in one PDF that I could find, and it was about the mentally ill, and they were talking about hospitals all across the country and how they were being shut down. And this is the only place where freaking that hospital was mentioned on the entire internet. And
well, what's scary back then is like women didn't have any rights, so they would, like men, they get tired of their wives, and if they had wealth, they just say, she's insane, she's going through a midlife crisis, she's insane. They put her in an insane asylum, and then they get a new wife.
Well, that was like the easy way out. Like men had it easy back then. Like they didn't, what I mean? They didn't have to actually listen to their women. They just say they're crazy and put them in an insane asylum.
And their husbands were tired of them. They were going through midlife crisis or menopause, and they're like, well, I want to find a new wife. So they put them in those institutions, and there probably wasn't nothing wrong with them at all.
Yeah.
And those places weren't good places to be for women.
Yeah.
At all.
It was horrible. Freaking. I mean, because like you hear all the stories about the freaking sedatives and shit that they used to take because of the migraine headaches, being a housewife and stuff like that. And then like when they finally flip out, they put them out to freaking pasture at the crazy house. You know what I mean?
Right. And and they give them the lobotomies. They were doing that. They did that with one of the Kennedy daughters, didn't they? Yeah. And she was never right.
What was the name? What was the name of that one woman? She was an actress, and they did that to her, and she was like really beautiful. And back then, they freaking said that she was like Marilyn Monroe beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she was weird, and just because she didn't fit in, they put her in an insane asylum and gave her a lobotomy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they created a lot of vegetables doing that.
Well,
too.
and you know what they used to do, the kids that were like just mildly retarded or like autistic but very intelligent and could, so you know, they could be in social life, and in today's world they're fine. They're not, they're different, but they would put them like rich families and stuff, or families would put them in their attics and hide them from people, and just, you know, or try to get rid of them. If you had a lot of money, you would put them in an institution.
Mm-hmm.
So back then it was kind of a crazy thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I'm not trying to get all Freddy Krueger on you and everything, okay? But
Yeah.
I want to put this forward to you. Do you think that while this crazy doctor was running that mental institution, he was doing experiments on some of those patients to where freaking they had mental problems, they were mentally ill, and they freaking ended up dying, and that's probably where the evil spirits or the evil whatever is coming from. It's
Oh,
Oh, well, yeah, I'm
absolutely.
sure. And
Yeah.
you know, Miami's been around a long time, so there's a lot of spirits up there anyway. I always felt like it was a, you know, kind of paranormal place. I had an incident. You talk about out of body stuff, I guess,
Mhm.
or what do you call it, astral projection? I
Mhm.
don't really know if this is what it was, but I'm not a morning person, but so I thought I imagined it, but I don't think so now. One morning I was going to work, and I was really tired, and they were working on building outside, or the lawn and driveway outside of the building I worked at. And so I'm starting to walk into the building, and it smelled like, kind of like they used like the horse manure or something.
Mhm.
And as I was walking by it, it's like I went somewhere else. I swore that I was somewhere else, like back in another time.
Yeah.
It freaked me out because I was like, okay, I'm really kind of tired. But then it was like I went back to the 1900s. They were doing some work where they were hitting stuff with hammers and stuff.
Mhm.
And I just think that all the sounds and the smells and stuff came together with something. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm back in the 1900s, like on maybe a street where there's stuff like that going on or something. I don't know. And it was very quick, but it was very realistic. And I was like, that was so strange. It was so strange. So I don't know. It's not really astral projection, though. What do you call that? That's kind of time,
That was
like a
kind of
time
a
travel.
That was kind of like a time slip.
And
Yeah.
I've never, like, I mean, this happened just probably in 2018. It hasn't been that long ago.
Now,
And it just
that,
freaked me out.
you just reminded me of questions. I don't know if you've noticed this, Austin, on the stream that you did for your mom, but Jackie left some questions for you in there, and she was wanting to know if when you were telling your story, did it start out because of a dream? When it
Which story was that? Was that the one where I was talking about World War One toppling?
yeah,
the old world?
now was that a vision or was that a dream?
It was visions.
Okay.
Yeah, I was awake when I had these images going through my head. Yes.
Okay, that was a question that we both missed whenever we were doing it because weren't doing this cool freaking chat thing on the side. Like I didn't
Yeah.
see I didn't see the chat when I was
Yeah.
doing that show. So I mean, if you want, you can like drop a link to me in Discord, and I'll go on there and read through whatever questions people ask me, and I'll answer them.
I
get
didn't
it.
notice it until like about 4 or 5 days ago. So I was like, I figured
Yeah.
I'd ask you.
I'll go into that chat if you give me like a link to it. Now I'll answer some of the questions people ask me.
All right.
But yeah, it was that those were visions that I saw, and it was triggered by the smell of chlorine from that pool, which, like I said, was like
Mm-hmm.
smelled like chlorine gas they used in
Yeah.
World War One.
And that's pretty similar. Actually, I never even thought about that, to what happened to me for a few moments there.
Yeah,
Just maybe
but you
the
actually
combination of everything. Like, it's like horses when you put,
Well,
they have bridles and stuff on them, and
But
just all the sounds.
You actually went back to a different time period.
I feel like I did, yeah. It
well,
really,
you kind of went back to a different time period too, there, Austin. I mean,
Yeah, I
World
would say
War One. I mean, that's
could be triggered like by the smells and the sounds and everything together. It's the right combination, right?
Yeah.
I think. So it's the right combination, and it just hits you, and that just takes you back.
I mean,
in your brain.
I mean, for me though, it wasn't like literally I stepped back in time to 1915. Though.
Well, no,
I mean,
it wasn't for me either, but it felt
Okay.
like I wasn't where I would normally. It didn't feel like I was in the modern world.
It
Where
didn't
I
feel
was just a
you
minute
felt like
ago.
you were in like
Yeah,
you felt like you were in 1902, but
yeah.
not
It felt like I was on the
2018.
street, and you watch those saloon things where there's people out there with the horses and the stuff.
The
and
Wild West
it
days.
was like
Yeah.
just for or something was different. I don't know, but yeah.
It sounds like that we really gotta discuss too, like your guys' differences between emotions and your visions, because for me, like, that's something that always seems to stick out with both of you. Like, are you sensing emotions or are you freaking seeing visions? You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's two distinct differences there when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's people who can sense emotions, and then there's people who you can have emotions. Don't get me wrong, but you're having a vision and it's actually showing you something. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
For me, it was just visions. I mean, but I was very interested in them. I mean, that I guess if you could say there was any emotion attached to it, it was just extreme interest in the time period and the significance of it, but not like emotions of the trauma of combat and war and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, one of you the other day mentioned the YMCA, and you said that you had a bad feeling. I think it was, wasn't it? When you
was that you?
It must have been you. I don't think I said anything.
Oh, I mean, I didn't have a bad feeling per se, really.
Hmm.
Actually, the images of all that World War I era stuff for me was very comforting and soothing. As hard as that might sound to believe, it was actually very comforting and soothing to me when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I don't remember mentioning that myself.
I didn't really get a bad feeling from the place. I mean, for me, it was just like I was with the spirits of those.
Wait a minute, hold up. That was Michael Paul.
Okay.
That was Michael
I was gonna
Paul.
say. I never said.
But I did say, like, when we moved to our new building, like at Miami, I never liked that place. It always had an odd feel to it. I did say that.
Yeah.
And there's something with some of the buildings at Miami too that seem to be like, I don't know, cursed or something.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. With the conversation we've had, I mean, I'm sorry, and everything I've read, there's nothing that you can convince me there's not something off about that place. It's just
That's why I'm doing that. That's why I'm looking in to see if that Oxford's cursed. Because I mean, me and my wife used to love going up there, and we hate it now.
It's just an odd town, and the people that live there all the time, which is a lot of the professors used to live there, but now a lot of them live out of town because they can teach classes online and stuff. So, but some of them that live there in that town for years are weird. They're just different. I don't know if that's that small town thing.
Well, see, the weirdness, though, from what I'm reading, really isn't directly in the town. So all these weird professors that are moving out of freaking town are actually going into the weirder parts, okay? Because, like, if you notice the college and everything, the Oxford College, it's out on the side of town. You know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff isn't directly the original stuff. It's directly set off to the side. You know what I mean? From where the So, like, they're actually wanting to frickin' go out into the weird areas, like they're attached to it, and they have to frickin' move out there, connected to the evil.
It's like some of those people go off the deep end and they they just lost their minds.
I think when you live in a small town like that, and I think, and sometimes it is professors because they're kind of into their profession and nothing else around them. But I had a chair, and he was my boss too, and he was the nicest man. But his wife broke her arm, and he'd lived in Oxford for years. And there's like one Kroger store up there, and he's like, I've got to go. He came out and was talking to me. He said, I got to go grocery shopping. And he's like, where's the Kroger's at? I said, are you kidding me? I said, you've lived here like 20 years, Jim. What are you talking about? And he's like, I said, you're kidding, right? And he says, no, I've really never been to the Kroger's. And I was like, it's over by the Miami Credit Union. So it's weird. It's like,
Disconnect.
I guess that it's a disconnect. Yeah, so I don't know if that's paranormal or it's just maybe a small town.
It's just a rich freaking a rich intellectual who freaking never gone shopping for himself. You know what I mean? Like,
well, actually, he was pretty down. He was one of our pretty down to earth. I'm sure he made pretty good money because he was a chair, but he wasn't one of the pretentious ones. He was really down to earth. So I was like kind of blown away by that.
yeah.
But maybe it was his wife did a lot of that stuff, maybe too. So. Yeah.
We've hit an hour and 5 minutes, man.
Okay. Well, I'll see if Austin can say anything else, and we'll get off.
Oh yeah, my wife. She said thanks for helping her find that Witchboard movie again.
I tell her it's a pleasure. I'll recommend the first one. I'll never recommend the second or the third one because they're nothing compared to the first one. Like,
yeah, she said she looked up the other two and she just says no.
Yeah, no. Can't do it.
I don't. If she started to watch them, I don't even think she got through the first 15 minutes before she said no.
Oh no. You can tell like they're not like the first one, like
because she actually spent a few years looking for that movie for me and her to watch every Halloween, but she thought the movie was called Ouija.
Yeah, I did at first too.
So,
because after you told me about it, and I looked it up, Roger, and you said
now that we know what it's called, we'll watch it like every Halloween or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it is good.
If you're ready to wrap it up, we're ready to wrap it up. I mean, so yeah, unless you got something else to say.
I think it's about it. And it was a pretty good show.
Yeah. Even though we've been so busy, like we were like, oh my goodness.
Okay.
So, it gets warm. We got a few warm days after this real cold snap here, and everybody like lost their mind, and everybody's like, oh, we got to go out. Stuff.
That's what happened to me. I mean, I lost my mind. I didn't go nowhere.
I mean, yeah, I was telling everybody, like, it just going into this cold weather, it was really hard to get motivated, like, in January, like I usually do, trying to work out or do anything.
In January, I was like in a zombified state, and I just wasn't up enough, and all I did was go to work and come home, and that was about it. It was just work, eat, and sleep, and it was all I could do to even figure that out half the time.
So you had that cold snap, Roger?
Yeah, we've had a nightmare. I'm not even going to call it a cold snap. I'll just say that it's like a freaking nightmare, Well,
it was here too, but now it's like almost 60 today, and it's been in the 60s now. So
I'm fine with the good weather. Don't get me wrong, you know what I mean. But it's like you said, the change. Like it goes from being cold to coming back up to the warm stuff, and that's just what threw me off. But yeah, we've had it, and the weird part about all of it is like in between there'll be like a couple days where rain comes in, and I'm like, dude, it's not supposed to freaking be raining in January. You know
no. Yeah, like last night it was like March. It was nasty. And
sometimes I wonder if they don't have like weather control technology or something. Because
see,
but that
I like Austin, dude. He's freaking,
well,
he had to have been interesting to freaking watch grow up. That's I mean, seriously.
Yeah, but he was like having a little man instead of a little boy. Because he's so super intelligent and just like into stuff that kids aren't into.
I mean, I have my little boy thing.
Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah, but
you know,
your little boy things consisted of something that pertained to World War One and freaking MKUltra and freaking.
It was like warped little boy stuff.
Well,
yeah, there you go.
he
Like
was artistic.
Pugsley.
If you ask my wife, I'm a warped little man nowadays.
He used to sit like draw stuff, Roger, and it was like so detailed when he was really tiny, in 3D and stuff like the Titanic and the presidents and the planes, and I mean his art was absolutely fantastic for his age.
I'll have to put some of that stuff up on Discord for him to see.
Yeah,
I need to dig out those Chupacabra drawings I've been promising to.
Yeah.
In fact, I got those off Unsolved Mysteries back.
Yeah, you got a lot. Okay, well, we're gonna shut it down then, and it's been nice, and I think we answered everybody's questions on here. I hope so.
Yes,
Looks
we
like-
did. We did.
Look, only that one girl
Yeah.
asked any questions.
she's here now, so.
Yeah. Sweet character.
Okay. Well, it's been nice, and we'll see you next week then.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Take it easy, Roger. Good talking to you again.